Today I want to talk about one of the biggest locations I know, Minecraft. Minecraft is extremely huge, as we all know, but exactly how big is it? Well, first of all, how big is one block in Minecraft? One block is approximately 1 meter long, 1 meter wide, and 1 meter thick. The question I always asked when I was playing is, when does the Minecraft world end? In Classic and in Dev mode, there were small, normal, and huge-sized worlds, but eventually they would actually end. As of in Dev, however, the maps became infinitely large, or so we thought. In versions of Minecraft prior to 1.8 beta, 12.5 million meters from the center of the map is the edge of the infinite world. This is known as the Farlands. The Farlands are home to these giant, epic walls. Even cooler than the walls are the Cornerlands, or the Stack. Because of the world of Minecraft is a giant square, there are 4 sides of the map and 4 corners. Each map has 4 Farlands and 4 Cornerlands. Basically, when you go to 12.5 million meters out diagonally, you get to the corner of the map. Unlike the Edge Farlands, which are giant holes with holes in them, the corner Farlands are stacks and layers of different parts of Minecraft on top of it. However, these kinds of Farlands only exist in versions of Minecraft prior to 1.8 beta. The Minecraft that we play today is even bigger. From the center of the map, it will take 30 million meters, or 30 million blocks, to get to the end of the infinite world. Once you reach this point, blocks will keep generating, however, they are somewhat imaginary blocks. I call them imaginary blocks because they don't have physics. The player falls right through them, lightning ceases to work, and after the player takes a few steps into them, the game crashes and jitters. So is the world of Minecraft infinite? Technically speaking, yes. It's just that after 30 million meters, blocks become imaginary. So then, ignoring imaginary blocks, how big is Minecraft? Think about it like this. There are 3 different directions in Minecraft: X, Y, and Z. X determines how far the player is to the right or to the left, and Z determines how far forward or how far backward the player is. Y is just height or depth, but let's ignore that for now. By pressing F3, we can see the X, Y, Z coordinates. If I move a block or 2 to the right, the X coordinate will become bigger. If I move a block or 2 to the left, the X coordinate will become smaller. Same thing for Z. Moving forward will increase it and backward will decrease it. This means that you can go 30 million blocks to the right, forward, left, or backwards in Minecraft. So from one edge of the map to the opposite of the edge, it's 60 million blocks. That means that the map of Minecraft is 60 million blocks long and 60 million blocks wide. Multiplying that together, the surface area of Minecraft is 3.6 quadrillion square meters. How about this? Is Minecraft bigger than the Earth? Well, the surface area of the Earth is 510 billion square meters. And remember, Minecraft's surface area is 3.6 quadrillion square meters. So yes, not only does Minecraft have a bigger surface area than the Earth does, it's bigger by more than 7,000 times. That means that you could make a scale model of the surface of the Earth 7,000 times on Minecraft, and still have plenty of space left on your map. So yeah, Minecraft is pretty big.